For centuries, humans have dominated the earth, hunting down animals, gathering resources, and building settlements. But what if they were alive with dinosaurs? My team and I have found a way to simulate civilization, but in Ark. And this is the island, where all the players have been separated into 3 different biomes, each with their own benefits, dinosaurs, and dangers. They have some challenges that will happen as things progress. They need to establish a food source, whether by picking berries or murdering the wildlife. And at first, they are all surrounded by barriers of radiation, so if they try to escape, they die. They must also select a leader for their nation by force or by diplomacy, and each tribe has a limited number of lives, so every death truly matters. Will they create peace, or will they plunge into the madness of war? Everyone, I present to you Ark Civilization's Season 1. Big shout out to Magicum for the inspiration and permission to do this in Ark. And if you enjoy this and want to participate in these in the future, be sure to subscribe and join the Discord using the link in the video description. It all started with all the players spawning in their respective biomes, and immediately one thing was going to be the biggest problem: the cold weather. The mountains were extremely cold, and without many trees, wood was going to be the biggest problem. So the entire tribe immediately began running down the mountain in an attempt to escape the frigid temperatures, and fired trees to harvest for its wooden thatch, with some unintended falls that may have been slightly higher than expected. The Redwoods had an easier start and immediately proved to be the most organized biome, sending out survivors to harvest resources and selecting an early leader, Animus, to lead them. Though they did have some monkeys that got too close and attacked them, and they also discovered they weren't a high enough level to tame them just yet. Some members of the mountain managed to get some torches and basic cloth armor as they continued their way down. The forest tribe managed to set up themselves a campfire to begin sharing food, making axes and foundations, as well as trapping some of their members in tents who weren't pulling their weight. I came to find the Redwoods had already started taming themselves some little monkeys to carry around on their shoulders. They even had meetings in order to discuss their next quest. As something I hadn't told you, we placed small strongholds in each biome that was protected by a relevant guardian, ready to kill those who enter. But while the Redwoods were still planning, a member of the forest tribe had found one of the weakest strongholds, looting the forges and storage boxes, as well as the cliff platform I was on before making his way back to the rest of the tribe. Over in the mountains, things were slightly less organized as many had gotten lost in the confusion of running from the cold, but a few had started creating a small settlement, even sending a hunting party to bring down an Anki with their spears and torches, while the rest focused on gathering resources and expanding the base. Meanwhile, the Redwoods had begun to siege their stronghold, using spears and running to fend off the bear guardians, which chose to simply destroy the loot instead of letting the humans get it. So the raiding party decided it's best to leave and come back with some more reinforcements. The day was ending, and in the mountains, tribe Chaotic had declared himself leader.
I was like, they're like, who's our leader? And I'm like, I'm the leader. And they're like, okay.
With no opposition to challenge him, and he was made king of the mountain tribes. Meanwhile, in the Redwoods, Animus was officially sworn in as leader through a democratic vote, and given the best armor they had available to them at this stage, chitin armor. Kitty Cat Lapur was elected as the second in command, but the entire tribe was not happy with this decision, though we'll see more on that later. Then arriving at the forest, they had completely moved their base, migrating down to set up next to the river where they had access to water. And while the forest had the best base set up so far, they did not yet have a clear leader, as there was a split agreement, with some wanting to follow Chicky's rule who wanted to swear off their god, while Chromida was becoming more of a priest and worshipping their god. But this may come to hurt them later should they not be able to band together. It was still dark in the morning of day 2 as the Redwoods tribe began to prep their next siege on the stronghold, to hopefully gather all their remaining loot. The mountain tribe had begun to freeze in their house, so they abandoned it in hopes of finding somewhere warmer. so they headed off using the dodo they tamed as a pack dodo to carry all of their loot. Meanwhile, the redwoods continued to increase their massive lead by even taming some big monkeys to ride around on, when finally the party came up on the outpost as they got an announcement that in 15 minutes every base will be attacked. If they manage to defeat it, then they'll receive a reward of multiple loot drops spawned in its place, so they had to be quick now. They aggroed the bears over and simply dropped a tent on them to trap them, climbed up the ladders and began to rummage for loot. The mountain tribe so long had managed to start their new home on a river bordering the redwoods tribe, a border that gives radiation to all those who pass through it, a border that won't be up for much longer. So hopefully the mountain people can build up some defenses before they are no longer alone. But they came across some dodos that they're able to tame to hopefully use for some eggs to help sustain the population. While the forest tribe was out exploring the mountain in search of their outpost to raid, they had some issues with compies attacking, but after killing them, they found some dodos that they began to tame and run home with their prizes. While at the forest home, they had made a little fortress using the forest tents to cover it in preparation of the attack coming soon. The mountain tribe was taking more of an open plan for their base. They were expecting an RG attack. However, that is not what appeared for them. With the mountain tribe scattering down the beach to prevent aggroing the aloe, the redwoods, on the other hand, met their Thala attack head on. With their spears and monkeys, they were able to successfully fend off the attack with 0 casualties. They were truly coming a force to be reckoned with. However, a Thala had broke into one of their tents after they thought they were done and managed to kill some of their members. But finally, they ended up victorious and their loot crates began to fall from the sky. We headed over to the forest tribe where they were ready to face their attack, a pack of Deinonychus. Immediately sprinting in and killing 3 of their members before one got bowled and killed from a distance using a bow. But it wasn't enough as the other 2 dinos decimated their base, and with the next event being a chance to win some very important items such as weapons, ammunition and more. But more than that, the worst tribe will get nothing but a wild Rex to attack them. So while the forest tribe scattered back into the forests, the mountain tribe was preparing to do something crazy. They wanted to tame the aloe that had been spawned near their base, so they were gathering resources, crafting structures, and everything else they needed to make a trap. The forest had eventually managed to defeat all their dinos with thankfully no more casualties, so their loot began to descend onto them. But their base was an absolute shambles, so the tribe split in 2, with half following Chromida as he received omnipotent words from their god Frosty, before advising them to head off in search of the outpost, even going so far as to create a shrine in worship for their god, in hopes of a sign which came in the form of a flare directing them to their raidable outpost.
Do not stray from your faith, brothers. We must follow our Lord. He would never deceive us. He is showing us the way of enlightenment.
Where'd he go? Oh, there he is.
Follow our Lord. He is telling us to go this way. Oh, brother, you have a compy on your booty.
Booty is not pleased. I'm starving. Who got...
Brothers, I see a building. Brothers, all is not lost. Come with me.
There's building
Oh, no.
materials. Let's go.
Nightgale has perished. Quickly, brothers.
Crossbows. Arrows.
Quickly, brothers. We must reach the entrance.
Everyone, get into the building.
Please. Hello? Someone can grab my body.
God!
Yo,
Oh, no.
Please help us!
grab me.
Our God has led us astray. Our God has led us to our death.
God is bad! God.
Protect me, my brother.
with only a few living to tell the tale of how their god led them to death. Then back at the mountain, they were looking ready to finally trap this aloe. So Chaotic stepped up to be the one to lead the aloe in. So with one swift arrow to the face, it aggroed, and with a few bumps ran straight into the trap. The race was now on. Trank out the aloe before it breaks out the trap. Using boomerangs and slingshots, they finally got it down and sleeping, before it eventually woke up and tamed. Their loot drops were delivered to the mountain tribe as the building contest came to an end. The Redwoods, with their desert-inspired tents, received a double-barreled shotgun as well as plenty of ammunition for it. The mountain tribe were gifted with a simple pistol with plenty of bullets, while the forest tribe, who for some reason decided to tear down their entire build instead of trying to improve it, were gifted with a Rex that promptly ate 2 more players and got itself stuck on a foundation, doing some donuts as the remaining survivors shot it with arrows and threw their spears in order to bring it down. Now, having lost more players, having 0 loot and items, the forest tribe offered a human life as a sacrifice. In exchange, they received a long neck and 10 bullets for his life, a worthwhile trade if you ask me. But with that, the borders between the biomes dropped, and this is where the fun begins. The mountain tribe was the most affected as they were using one of the borders as a barrier to their base, which was shielding them from the Redwoods tribe, the most dominant force in all of this. Redwoods tribe had already sent out scouts on their monkeys searching for any sign of foreigners coming to their lands, while the remaining group was back at the outpost attempting to tame the guardian dire bears. The mountain tribe was in an all-out panic as they tried to harvest resources for weapons and armors to defend themselves. The Redwoods tribe didn't end up having much luck taming the bears before having to run away. However, in the process, their leader Animus died to one of the bears, so the remaining members of the Redwoods raiding party all hightailed it back to the base. In a panic, they all desperately wanted to make a sacrifice in order to appease the gods to bring back Animus. Some members of the tribe were even offering to sacrifice Kitty Cat Lepore, the second in command who was now the leader of the tribe, but the rest fortunately did not agree with that. One survivor was even yeeted off of his monkey, crashing into a tree and dying on the floor, which turned out to be the perfect distraction as Cyrus from the forest tribe had snuck in and lobbed some grenades into the middle of the Redwoods meeting, before sprinting out of there with the monkey hot on his tail, but he managed to escape just as the monkey gave up. Meanwhile, at the mountain tribe, unaware of the attack that had just happened, a diplomacy party had just embarked on an attempt to ally with the Redwoods tribe. Little did they know, as they left, Cyrus found the mountain tribe's beach base and began taking pot shots with his crossbow, while Chaotic fired back with his simple pistol. The diplomacy party arrived at the Redwoods base only to be immediately surrounded by monkeys. As the Redwoods discussed what to do with this little diplomacy party, some members kept them safe. It was eventually decided that Rocky Cliffs would stay behind, while the other 2 diplomats would be escorted back to their tribe members with some of the Redwoods members. The Redwoods tribe arrived at the mountain's base and they appeared to have a common enemy of the remaining forest tribe members, who had been targeting and harassing both tribes with guerrilla warfare. With Cyrus taking a long-range shot at the Redwoods tribe in hopes of killing one, but all that did was anger the monkeys as they all launched at Cyrus. He was eventually caught and killed as he tried to escape. It was then decided by the Redwoods to sacrifice Rocky and 3 monkeys to their god in order to get their past leader Animus to be revived.
Oh, okay.
At the mountain tribe, while they were unaware of the sacrifice of Rocky, the Redwoods turned on them with their monkeys, killing all the leftover survivors, including their ally. With Animus returned from the dead to the Redwoods tribe, all was well again in the world. There were some remaining members of both the forest and mountain tribe, but all they had was shattered dreams. Zulz had begun to live as a hermit in the far reaches of the Redwoods, gathering berries and living in a tree stump. Subkid became a nomad after having tamed some monkeys as he roamed the lands, searching for a place of solitude. All while the Redwoods tribe continued to prosper under the rule of their undead zombie leader Animus.